Hi everyone, this is Pradeep from Sydney in Australia. First of all, wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night, depending on which part of the world you are. I'm delighted to welcome you to GCC episode 7. Now, what does GCC stand for? Well, you have to be a member of that exclusive club to know what does GCC stand for. Okay, guys, I am delighted to present today an alumni 1975 batch. Now the 70s batch is almost becoming a vintage, although I am also from the 70s. But that apart, we also have the Singapore Brigade today. A couple of weeks back, we had the Canada Brigade. Now we have the Singapore Brigade. Next week, we will have the UK Brigade. And what after that? It's a surprise. So let's kick off the session and let me check whether Narinder is there. Narinder, are you there on the call? Not sure whether he's there or not. So let's kick off with Singapore. As all of you know that we have leaders whom we call as ambassadors in important geographies. We have leaders from US. In fact, we have two from US. Purely because US has a very large population. So we have one for the US East Coast, one for the US West Coast. Then we got leaders from UK and of course, Singapore and Canada. So today we present to you the Singapore Meet the Alumni IIT Delhi from Singapore. And to kick off this session, I am delighted to welcome Priyadarshi. Priyadarshi, who's the GCC ambassador for Singapore, with Nawal, who is the co-ambassador for Singapore, with direct responsibility of the rest of ASEAN. So please give a big round of applause to Priyadarshi. Priyadarshi, over to you.
Thanks, Pradeep. Welcome everyone to the IIT Delhi Alumni Association, a Global Chapters and Connections session, focusing on Singapore today. So today's session is going to be about our four CXO guests, whom I am going to introduce, our distinguished alumni of IIT Delhi. But before that, a quick round of introduction for myself. I am Priyadarshi Mishra. I'm a managing director with Accenture, country lead for Accenture Technology in Singapore. I basically drive all the digital transformation work for our clients in Southeast Asia. I help clients with their journey to be an intelligent enterprise through the expedited adoption of new technologies like AI, ML, data, cloud, blockchain, and the rest of it, right? So I think all of you are from that background, so I think you will understand. And of course, my background in terms of my association with IIT Delhi is I'm a 1996 MTech. Post my IIT, I did my MBA from Rutgers in New Jersey, USA. And I worked with Lucent Bell Labs, Telcoria, those telecom companies before moving to London to join Accenture in 2004. And since then, I have been with Accenture almost for 18 years now. And I worked in various leadership roles in Accenture in UK, Ireland, India, and for the last 8 years here in Singapore. That's kind of a quick introduction, but as I said, today's call is going to be about our CXO guests. Let me quickly introduce them, and then I will kind of have the conversation and we'll hear from them, their experience, their journey from IIT Delhi to being the founder and CEO or CTO of the current companies that they are managing. And I'm very excited to kind of present them to you. Our first speaker will be Ashish Chandra. He's an IIT Delhi alumni from 2000. And I am Bangalore in 2002, founder and CEO of Kristal.Ai, which is a successful wealth management firm with presence over 20 plus countries. In fact, before being introduced to Ashish, I didn't realize, and I myself am a customer of Ashish in that firm. So I think it is pretty well established in Singapore. They are coming up in a big way. So I'm really glad that it turned out to be an IIT Delhi alumni. With Ashish, we'll have Vineeth Narasimhan. He's again IIT Delhi 2000 computer science graduate. I'm Calcutta. and he's the founder and CTO for Kristal.Ai. He's part of that. He has played various leadership role in IBM and Cognizant. And our third guest is Balwant Jain, again, a veteran, 1986 IIT Delhi, 1990 IIM Ahmedabad, and he's the founder and CEO of Optimum Solution, which is a full spectrum IT services company with 220 million revenue. They're headquartered in Singapore, presence in 7 countries with more than 3,300 employees all over the globe. So I think I'm very excited to present all these ex-alumni who have established such big and successful companies. So it's a great pleasure to have them here on the call today. Our last but not the least and most senior from is Harish Nim. He's a 1981 IIT Delhi and 83 IIM Calcutta batch. He's the founder and CEO of Emerio Globesoft, which is he started that company in 1997 with just as a one-man show. And that company grew to almost 2,200 employees with more than 100 million in revenue. I mean, it's really a great story. I think I'm very excited to hear from them. How did they go about, since their days in IIT Delhi, how did they go about establishing these big firms and successful firms? So with that, I will hand it over to Pradeep and Ashish. Back to you.
So just a quick question, Priya. As managing director with Accenture, do you carry the briefcase of the senior managing director? Jokes apart. Jokes apart.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Thanks a lot. That was absolutely lovely. Now ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Ashish.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks a lot for welcoming me to the stage.
Ashish, tell me, out of the 4 alumni today, you are the only one who's veered off engineering. You are still engineering, but you're engineering financial products now. Now, what has been your journey? And one thing, of course, I note, which falls into the regular observation about IIT alumni. All of you have done postgraduate studies. Most of you have hung up your boots after certain points in time and started your own business. Of course, there have been some who hung up the boots right from the beginning. But anyway, it's about you, Ashish, you as a person. Over to you. What has been your journey post IIT Delhi?
Thank you. Thanks, Pradeep. So IIT, as you guys introduced, so this was about 21 years ago. We graduated, both Vineeth and I graduated in 2000. And I remember that even during that time, there was this, what's called the kid of entrepreneurship in us. And we tried to do something in the education sector, and that failed miserably because within a few months, we realized that we'll not be able to do anything, and went on to further studies and jobs and into that. But I think, as they say, right, that once that that worm has bitten you, it stays there for longer. So roughly 16 years after IIT, Vineeth and I got together. So we were actually roommates in the very first year in Aravali hostel. And
wow.
16, yeah. So I don't know of your times, for everyone is from different batches, but in 1996, when we went in, we had to share a room. And Vineeth and I started the IIT Delhi, both of us in comp science, and we were roommates. And that's how our friendship had started. So 16 years later, in 2016, we got together to begin what is now called Kristal.Ai, after, I would say, many failed attempts at different BTP projects and things like that. So in that sense, I would say that the entrepreneurial Kida was always there within us, but it's only about realizing that it's never too late, it's never too early. There is no late or early kind of a thing in this. And when you got to take a plunge, you should do it. When you feel passionate about a particular problem, just go and solve it. And I would see myself as a more risk taker. Would love to hear Vineeth's thoughts also. When I remember I was sleeping on his sofa in Bangalore, asking him that maybe I need a CTO, and do you think you should be the CTO, or how do you think we should go about it? So I'd love to hear his thoughts on how he was thinking in that December 2015 night.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vineeth from Bangalore.
Thanks,
And
Pradeep.
where are you? I can't see your face.
I'm here. Me.
Okay, so first of all, man, you've been a techo all along, and even now you're a techo. So, what made you hang around looking at the technology? Are you kind of very passionate about technology? What is it? Tell me. First of all, also tell me, what did you do, post IIT Delhi? I heard that you were with IBM also. By the way, I have been the global delivery leader for IBM, Australia, and New Zealand, in the past. And I know Suhas Bide, Rambia, and everybody else over there. So were you in GBS, etc.? But first, it's not about me, it's about you. What's your story?
Thanks. Yeah. So after IIT, I worked for a year in a compiler design company called ICOS, but then I always wanted to get a management degree. So partly it was interest in finance at that point in time, and partly it was my father who was really pushing me towards getting that. But then as it so happened that the year when I passed out, there were not many finance jobs. So I ended up joining Cognizant as a business analyst in one of their enterprise SaaS domains at that point in time. And spent 2 years there. Then somehow my interest was more on building products all along. So I decided to join as a product manager at a small cloud-based mobile device management company, which used to do something completely different at that point in time, in a fairly small role. So we were, when I joined that company in Bangalore, we were about 15 people. But over the period of time, it grew to a healthy team. That company was taken over by the IBM security division in 2013. That's how I became a part of IBM, stayed there for 2 years. And then Ashish came along in one of the, in 2015, I remember November. So for his I am Bangalore alumni, and right. So and then at that time he had already started thinking about really what next to do and how to really disrupt this entire wealth management space. And he left me with a thought. I'm usually not such a Ashish is the risk taker. I'm more the counterweight in the organization as well as otherwise thought process. Right. So I just slept on it. Again, he came back in December, right? And during the Christmas vacation. And we started talking. And then he pulled me to go visit a couple of our friends in Noida and discuss these ideas further. Right. And Noida, during winter times, it's so foggy, cold, and other things, right? So after talking and discussing this over 2-3 days, right, the only condition I had for him is I can't start an office in Noida. It has to be somewhere else. It has to be Bangalore most likely. So, but definitely that is how he literally pulled me into this, and then I think the rest is all history. So it's been going great for last 5.5 years. We are at a cusp of growth and do look forward to really building awesome stuff together in future.
So, do I take it that the moral of the story is that if you want to get blinded by somebody, then take that somebody into area which is heavily fogged?
I think that's absolutely right. So
Fog
I
and
come
liquor, I think, blinds.
So it was so I come from the hedge fund trading kind of world. So we believe in just confusing people and making sure that you fog them, get them drunk, and then they just agree to your vision, and you're already on high on that vision. So it works very
Not a
well.
worry. I am a strong believer of virtual reality and augmented reality, and I can see those
Absolutely.
dollars being augmenting to your and Veet's face. So tell me, folks, how has been the entrepreneurial journey? You see, the beauty of the whole thing is the association goes back to the time when both of you joined IITD. Both of you were roommates, and it has continued along, into a business relationship, along with, of course, personal friendship. And this is a trait that we also find, that the relationships which are formed at the time one is in IIT Delhi very often translate into business relationships at a particular point in time, because that trust, that bond is already, been established, and when one is growing up. So how was the journey?
So journey has been fairly exciting. I'll take that first, and Vineeth, you share your side. So it's been, I would say, it gets certain things get easier over time, and but certain things get more difficult. The kind of challenge that you face changes. I would say that one thing that has happened in the last few years, I would say predominantly in the last 2-3 years, is that the overall support for the entrepreneurial ecosystem has gone up a lot. Now, in fact, we may be swinging to the other side where someone who's not being entrepreneurial is seen as like, why are you not being entrepreneurial when you're coming from IIT? You know, so it's probably the pendulum is probably going on the other side. But initially, let's say when we were starting, so 2015, 16, everything was a challenge, whether it's hiring, whether it's giving people a belief. And Asia has always lagged. I would say the ecosystem, I would say Asia ex-China has always lagged the ecosystem that has been there in China or the US when it comes to venture cap, when it comes to seeing that these things can become really big businesses. It's always been done with a delay. So hiring of a team, I remember when Vineeth and I were at one of the terraces at one of those co-working spaces in Bangalore, even just finding people to come and interview was a big challenge. Literally, we had to go and meet at various places where it was easier for the candidate to be there rather than calling them over to a particular place, because there was hardly an office, there was hardly a presence, there's hardly a known name. So it's pretty much as if you're in a jungle trying to find a way. So the starting, getting the first few people in the team, I think it's the hardest. Then it's about the funding, and then it's getting the product, the product market fit, and of course after that VC rounds and everything. So there are different challenges, and I would say it's not yet over, but I think that's the fun, right? So the type of challenge changes every year, the magnitude of challenge changes every year, but I think that's exactly what we feel excited about in going in an entrepreneurial way.
Okay. So let me move across to Vineeth. Vineeth, tell me, do you boss over Ashish, or does Ashish boss over you? No, don't tell me it's a teamwork and all that. I mean, these are, man, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the real truth.
Let the same idea. Taste जैसा भी हो.
Hey, who's that? Can I ask you to mute yourself? Back to mute. Back to Vineeth.
Yeah, so on paper, Ashish is the boss, so no comments on that.
Right answer.
The two in front of boss, no way.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So tell me now, see, because you both know each other for donkey number of years. Let's say sometimes Ashish is not performing, or Ashish says Vineeth is not performing. Are you able to kind of shout at him and say that, man, what the hell are you doing?
I mean, throughout the BTP project, he was shouting at me, then saying, why are you not programming? I said, I'm making the presentation. So how much more do you want?
So, see, that's the beauty of the entire thing.
Good one.
Okay. So now tell me, what is the assets under management? What kind of scale are we talking about? In Kristal.
So
and tell us also, because what I understand is that in a way, what you're trying to do is your vision is to bring that side of financial industry in the realm of people, who are not exactly super rich, not the packers and all that kind of a thing, but to a more affordable level, and I think it's a great story. So what exactly are you doing, and what is the size of funds under management?
So I'll take that first. So we're managing upwards of $300 million US dollars now, and it's across four main countries is where we have presence, but we have clients from more than 20 different ones. So India, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai. But the key theme that what we're doing and the problem that we're solving is that, see, in today's world, you typically, and you've heard this thing from many places, right, that only the rich get richer, the divide is always increasing and things like that. Now, the reason why that happens is because the whole wealth industry is structured in such a manner that the 20 million guy gets the best deals, the best access, the best service, advice, and so on. And as the size of net worth or account reduces, all these things start disappearing to an extent that if you are in the $250,000, $500,000, $1 million zone in let's say Singapore, you're basically treated like shit. So it's almost like all your hard-earned money is all money, and everything else belongs to people who are upwards of 10, 20, $30 million. And they get those exclusive deals where they can have fantastic returns and IRRs and so on. So what we were questioning was that why should this be there? That everyone deserves to have the right access, the right to invest in the right way, and access to advisory itself. So basically, we said that the right to invest in a proper manner is almost like a fundamental right, and the industry in the current way it is structured is basically denying that right. So you're having a pyramid, where the top 0.1% enjoys the full benefit of everything else that the world is doing, and the kind of access are being created. Now, all of it cannot be changed, but at least can we change it from the top 0.1% to the top 2%, 5%, 10% through the use of technology? Because that's the only way where you can deliver an advisor at your doorstep on top of your mobile through an app, and make that advisor so intelligent that one day when that mobile app, the robo in your app, or the algorithm in your app becomes more superhuman like, then it's able to give equal amount of access, information, advice, and personalization to anyone. It doesn't matter whether you're doing it for $10,000 or $1 million or $100 million. So that's the key vision that we have, that just expand the reach of the curated access and the correct advice being available to a large segment of clients.
Okay, so now moving across to Vineeth. Vineeth, could you tell us that what role is technology playing in this?
So technology is playing two roles. One is really the scalability, making it available to more and more people, right? So what the vision that Ashish laid out, right? So we can take it to a large number of people in a cost-effective and hence in a sustainable manner. That is only possible using technology. So we do have a small team of relationship managers and advisors in Singapore. But really beyond that, we want to really scale using technology and bring, so in a traditional bank, right, private bank, you will have an RM catering to, let's say, 30, 50 people, right? What we are trying to do is, can this small team of advisors that we have cater to a much larger number of people? So, and the way we are solving that is by using technology there. So that is one part. The second part is that so investments, right? Typically, the way people invest is a lot emotions driven, right? So we are trying to leverage certain models, quant models, AI based models, and putting it all together to see if there is a way to take out.
My dear friend, technology has made you a robo. You are trying to offer robo advising, but looks like, let's hope that you're able to get back. But in the meanwhile, let me move across to Ashish. Ashish, the question is, and this is being raised by Sunil.
Okay.
So for example, give an example. So we had clients who came and bought into a pre-IPO of Udemy and Klarna and Kraken. So they have only for that transaction they pay a fee, which could be even just an upfront setup fee, and it's all transparent, declared in the documents. And if you come and buy a basket, let's say a Famang basket, right, which is just rebalanced to a particular ratio, so that will be as little as a 0.2, 0.3% kind of a management fee.
Got it.
Folks,
Thank you.
Folks, this has been absolutely fabulous. And we saw the wonders of modern technology. I got dropped out while the meeting continued, but beautiful to be back in. I hope that I'm able to recover the video. Otherwise, I'll pass it on to Vineeth to do all looking after the technology side and recover the video. So please give a big round of applause to Ashish and Vineeth.
Thank you.
And guys, I'm going to pull you into the GCC now. You see, let's look at, we already have some interesting people both in Singapore in fintech. So let's connect you and let's kind of get you to run on the fintech side or anything else which is of interest to you guys as a special interest group. Okay, so please give a good round of applause to both Ashish as well as to Vineeth. Moving on to the next gentleman. Now, whom should I choose? Should I go to Harish first? Or should I go to Balwant? Well, well, both of them have got a lot of dollars, so it's difficult to choose who's richer. So let me go on to the senior of the two, and which is Harish. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Harish.
Why?
और यार तूने बेच बूझ के तेरे रूम में जाएंगे ना तो वहाँ एक ट्रंक में पता नहीं $1 million यहाँ पड़ा होगा, नए रूम में जाएंगे $2 million वहाँ पड़ा होगा. तो मैं सोच रहा हूँ मैं कभी when I get a chance to go to visit Singapore, maybe मुझे भी कुछ 100,000 200,000 ऐसे you'll ले जा भाई तू.
No, sir, all that good wine has been drunk.
No, we gave you the honor because you made the mistake of passing out much earlier than Balwant.
Passing out, yeah, I keep passing out still. But okay.
So tell us your story about post IIT Delhi.
Hi, Sunil.
Ben, how are you? Long
Oh,
time.
man, it's been such a long time. Yeah.
Are you guys batchmates or what?
Oh, not only that, we were, what's the Hindi mein word? Lagoti IRs.
अरे क्या बात है, I love that.
Talking about passing out, we can tell you stories, but we won't do that here.
From Boston to Singapore, love it. Okay, over to you, back to you.
Yeah, IIT, I mean, I don't know, Sunil. So basically what happened was electrical engineering. I'd got a job in Tata Electric in Bombay, and, wasn't really ready for work, right? So as you know, I used to hang out in billiards room most of the time, and there were some seniors, and I asked them, "Yeah, kya kar rahe ho?" So they said, "We are at this place called, we are at a place called IIM." I said, "What is that?" So they gave some gyan. So then, long story short, they also gave me a gyan that if you want to work hard, you go to IMA. If you want to party, you go to IMC. So obviously, the choice was clear, IMC. 2 years of partying there, and then Enfield, India came in to campus, and I was into bikes from Patanjali, Gobind, Hemraj, Keswani, and, Kwame Kao, all of those guys, right? So I said, okay, Bullet Meri Jaan was the campaign that happened, if any of you remember, when I was there. And then we launched this German brand, 3 models from Zundap. And so it was fun. And then in between, I got married. I had a daughter. And then I said, enough of bikes. And I bumped into a small company called Pertec Computers Limited. So then I got into computers, selling computers. A year into that, and we were like, the number 2 PC seller in the country after HCL. And PCL was a breakaway group from HCL, I think. So they asked me to organize a party for 500 guys in Goa. So that I don't know how they knew that was right up my alley, right? So organized a great party. At 2 a.m., the founders of PCL gathered together and persuaded me to forget my sales job and get into the factory. So okay, we got into the factory, and then before I knew it, 10 years had gone by. And as Sunil would vouch, I don't normally think, but then, a milestone aa gaya. So, okay, so 10 years. So how's it going? Not fantastic. So I said, okay, what do I do? So I decided to go to Singapore. And so one day, this was in February 92, I told my wife, you know what? We're going to Singapore. She said, huh? Okay. We came to Singapore. I came in as a partner in a small firm, 1/3 partner. 6 months into it, I realized that that partnership was not going to go anywhere because of whatever reasons. So then I called up HCL, I called up Wipro, and I said, you know, guys, I want to start my own shop in Singapore. Will you support me? And they'd heard about me because it was a small industry then. They said, yeah, sure. Then I called my boss, my ex-boss. And I said, this is what I want to do. He says, you idiot, you have no money. You have 2 girls, and you know, you're new there. Forget all that shit. Why don't you start the PCL office in Singapore? I said, okay, but you know, I would want to set it up and then hand it over to someone and start something of my own. I said, okay. So, now what to do? PCL hardware. So I was doing purchasing from this region for PCL, and Perestroika had just happened. Russia had opened up. So I made a trip to Russia, did some selling there, and started supplying hardware to guys in Russia. And then that was a very lucrative thing for the PCL office here. And then I said, you know what? You guys have started this company called Mindware, and you're focusing on the US. Well, why don't I start that here? You know, the software business. I said, okay. So started that, and then I think it was 3 years later that we had about 100 people here, contracts with Singtel and NEC and all that. And I said, you know what? Send someone to take over. I'm off on my own. So then I went off on my own. Started my business and got really lucky. That's about it.
So tell me, that do you just kind of write to big companies and they just walk in like that? How does that happen?
Oh, big companies, Sam. I remember I walked into Deutsche Bank and they said, Mr. Nim, we have 251 suppliers. Why should we consider you? So I said, you know what? You have 251 suppliers globally, right? I don't know how many you have in Singapore, but I can tell you one thing, that in 10 years' time, in a year's time, I will be among your top 5. So, you know, business is done among people, right? You may be IBM, you may be Deutsche Bank, you may be anything, but it's like, you know, whether you can trust the guy, whether there is sincerity. So
I love it, you know, that you just walk in and smilingly say, ki, believe in me, and they believe you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, why not? Why should they not?
So going on another track, you know, पैसे वैसे काफी कमा लिए, सारे पाप भी धो लिए. So now what? On to, you know, spiritual journey, or where are you? Kind of all this, you know, I hear about new names of the companies you're forming. What is that? Oh,
No. This is all. So I sold my business in 2010, right?
Bridge, please mute yourself.
So I sold my company in 2010 to the Japanese, and there was a 3-year lock-in, and 3 years went by, and I said, okay, I'm going. They said, Nim-san, why you want to leave? Okay, one more year. Before I knew it, It was 2019. And I said, what? I've been here 9 years after selling the company. What the am I doing? You know? So I said, boss, no, I'm off now. About 10 years ago, I actually came across this book, Autobiography of a Yogi, which was given to me by a dear friend in PCL back in '88. And I don't know, came up, I read it. Interesting. So that for the last 10 odd years, I've been trying to understand what this world is all about.
So that's why we invited you to GCC. See, this is the power of GCC. You read books about yogi, but we present to you a yogi in real life.
I know he's there.
We've got our spiritual leader Vijay from UK. You know.
Correct. I know. I mean, when I saw Sri, I said, okay. And so it's been amazing. So I started my PhD and doctorate in integrative medicine 3.5 years ago. And, you know, what with COVID and golf and all of that, it's a bit on the back seat, but I'll get there. So my target is by next year.
How did they give you admission for a PhD in integrated medicine?
Yeah, selling करना पड़ता है ना हर जगह.
Love it. This is fabulous. Yeah, this is fabulous. यार ऐसे में तो यार I will always say that you are my long lost friend यार. कहीं भी कुछ होगा तो मैं तुझे आगे काढूंगा आगे. Love it. Look, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
And we will not just take your smiling face, but we'll pull you in and possibly get you into your area of current passion, which is integrated medicine or spiritualism or whatever it is, and ask you to develop that community of practice along with Vijay and other people, kind of a thing. But more on that later on. So let's move on to the third guy,
Balwant.
Not the least, Balwant. Now the interesting thing about Balwant, and for that matter Harish, is both these guys started off in the traditional outsourcing business. And we all know that traditional outsourcing business has become a commodity now. So what did these guys do to create a niche for themselves, not only to grow, but to grow to a great level and to sustain that in the current environment? So over to you, Balwant, and please give a round of applause to Balwant. Where are you, Balwant?
Balwant, you're on mute. You just need to unmute yourself.
Wait a minute, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us at odd hours for some of us. And Harish, good to see you after a long time. I think it's a long time that we need to catch up again due to COVID. And Naval as well. So, when I was listening to Harish and others, I realized that my life generally is like just, go along singing a song and things will happen along the way. At times people, did you really think about it? When I look back, at times things just happen one after another, and perhaps at every point of time one has to make a decision, and that defines the next journey from that point of time onwards. So I come from, sorry, my throat is a little bad today, and pardon me for that. So I come from a family, from a small town called Tonk near Jaipur, Rajasthan. Everybody has been in business. My father is an advocate, but as my family has been in business. And the Kira, he was, you go study, but you should be a businessman, you should start a business. I went to IIT Delhi. Based on my rank, I got into mechanical engineering. I think that was the easiest way for all of us that point of time to choose what we want to do. And IIT Delhi, because it was closer to my home than going to Mumbai or Kanpur. So that decision also was made very simply, right? Not a lot of thought, not a lot of complicated decision-making process. When I was looking back at my children when they're applying to US universities and they're looking, where's my passion and what's the character of the university and how should I go about it? I was wondering, nowadays we just chose, whatever was the most convenient thing and what we could get. Anyway, so after mechanical engineering, I got a job with Bajaj Auto. Bajaj Auto was the first IIT graduates that they hired in the graduate training program. I landed up there, and the first 2 months we went across different functions, sheet metal, shop floor, manufacturing. And I thought, the deductive reasoning that we learned at IIT Delhi, that perhaps tool design and manufacturing is the key for manufacturing business if I want to start. So I joined the tool design shop in Bajaj Auto after my 2 years of training. And guess what? In the next 1 month when I'm there, I realized Bajaj Auto was not designing any tools at all. The tools, what they had was given to them by Piaggio a long time back, and they were just duplicating them. So I said, my God, what I'm going to learn out here? And it was too hot to work at the shop floor. And the luck would have it, I bumped into the newly started department called EDP at that point of time, Mr. Sinha, and he was looking for people to join his department. He says, Balwant, tum kya kar rahe ho yahan pe garmi mein? Mere paas aa jao. I said, makes sense. And I shifted to IT. My only exposure to IT was a course in Fortran in IIT Delhi, nothing else. My first in the job, and he gives me a book on COBOL. Ki beta kitab padh lo, fir kaam karna shuru kar dena. That's a little funny thing. Anyway, so I worked with them for 2 years, went to IIM Ahmedabad, graduated from IIM Ahmedabad. As a luck would have it, I got a job by a startup by Westinghouse that point of time, and TCS called WTI Advanced Technology Limited. I got married in March 90, and job I have to join them sometime in July, and my office was in Kunur. So those of you who don't know, you would have heard of Ooty, and Kunur is a town just below Ooty, right? So Kunur is the tea capital of South India. And you must be wondering that why a technology company will go and open up an office in the tea capital of the country. And that's because a smart bureaucrat in the Tamil Nadu government would have heard of Silicon Valley. His reasoning was that a software company should be in a valley, and he had a Nilgiri Valley.
Interesting.
So the Tamil Nadu government had this Nilgiri Technology Park. So my company's office was the first and the last office out there which ever opened. It's a God-forsaken place. It requires 6 hours from the nearest railway station to reach there.
My goodness.
Telecom infrastructure, you know what it used to be. Anyway, I joined there 1.5 years, continued there, nothing much happened, had a nice holiday. Living in tea gardens, playing golf, playing billiards, playing bridge. Wellington Gymkhana Club is there. That's a defense staff services college. Had a great time, but realized that this can't continue, so I have to get to a serious job. And I joined Bajaj Auto again in 1994. At that point of time, everyone was planning to go to US. I also applied for a job in the US, got the job in the US. And 2 days before we had to fly, my wife put a foot down that she's not going to go to US with a small daughter that we had. She said, I'm not going to go and take care of that little darling all alone out there. So the US plan fizzled out. I said, okay, we'll just continue in India. And out of nowhere, I went for a conference that I was not supposed to go. I meet up a friend of a friend out there. That friend of a friend moves to Singapore after a little while. And he gives me a call one Friday, so why don't you come and join us in Singapore for NIIT? And, without any planning or anything such, I just ended up in Singapore without knowing what Singapore is all about. So what I'm telling you at times is, things just happen, not necessarily that we planned everything, but we need to make a right decision at the point of time to pick up an opportunity and take it. Came to Singapore, worked with NIIT for 1.5 years, left NIIT, joined another organization in a sales role. So earlier I was more into a business consulting, I moved to sales, continued, and in 97 I started on my own in Singapore. And as Harish's story was, I also started with a friend of mine, and it was great going, but things didn't work out with us. That I'm grateful for that, so that we could split within the 6 months itself. Damage was not much. So I split. I started my own 97. At that point of time, IT outsourcing industry was just beginning to pick up. Everybody was talking about IT outsourcing, offshoring, and Singapore was a unique place, very small place, when we came here, the population was 2.8 million. It has grown to 5.6 now. And Singapore was a very unique place in the sense that because of Hong Kong being given back to Britishers, a lot of MNCs were looking at Singapore as a regional headquarters for them. And that gave us a business opportunities in Singapore. And that perhaps gives confidence to me and Harish to start something on our own here. That look, place is going to grow. We could see more and more MNCs. And perhaps I and Harish being one of the few entrepreneurs who still continue to work with more large international players than the local businesses. So we joined, it started in 97, and since I've been focusing on the business, growing it organically, we have grown to over 3,500 people in the region. Along with Singapore, we expanded into Malaysia, Philippines, China, Hong Kong, and India. And all these were based on the existing relationships in Singapore. So we moved to a new city whenever we had an anchor customer who gave us enough business to start an office in a new city and then build upon that. And that has worked pretty well. Shanghai was a good example. Everybody's point was, look, China is not an easy place to do business. But I think we were lucky with the good customers that we had and the people that we got, the right people we got in Shanghai to work for us. It's been a good success story for us. So over a period of time, the industry's changed, the technology's changed, the way we deliver services changed. But at the end of the day, IT is not going to go anywhere because no software works the way it's supposed to work from day one, and it keeps changing.
So Balwant, let me ask you, how many people are there in your company at the moment?
So we are close to 3,500 people now.
And at the peak, how many were there?
Well, fortunately, we never had a dipping year till now since we started in 97. We had seen some cycles, but we have been lucky that it's been a positive graph for us from day one. And
so 2,500 is not a small number.
That's a big number.
So the interesting thing what I find is that I remember that when I was working with IBM, IBM had a total headcount of 540,000 and we had 140,000 in India. Accenture at that particular point in time had 300,000 worldwide and they had 100,000 in India. Capgemini at that point in time had 100,000 and they were planning to have 50% of the headcount in India. So how did you kind of manage to build such a big business from Singapore without kind of, offshoring it to India or Philippines and all that kind of stuff?
So Pradeep, if you rewind back to 97, 98, as I said, Singapore was in a unique position. So, the whole, this globalization was happening and IT outsourcing was, still in nascent stage. I wouldn't have the number, but I'm sure none of these firms were so big at that point of time, right? So a lot of firms who would not have had a good experience having worked with an outsourcing partner in India or were not prepared to outsource and who had a presence in Singapore was a good option for them. It was a midpoint between the cost in US or Europe and the cost in India. So it's not the cheapest cost, but it's still you get 50% cost savings. And these big boys, they could manage things on their own. And they have the senior management sitting out there in Singapore itself. So in those days, our business was primarily with the
Understand, Balwant, but this is no longer 1997. We are in 2021.
Yeah,
and Singapore is one of the most expensive places in the world.
It is, but at the same time, now from a cost arbitrage, it has moved more about the capability perspective.
That's a fabulous story. Because
right,
it shows the strength of your customer relationship more than capability. Because today technology is no longer a key point of differentiator.
Absolutely.
Especially in outsourcing kind of a story. Yes, there are pockets where the customer's system so well that it's very difficult for them to kind of take you out. But that's not when we talk about 2,500. But I mean, without going into too much of this thing, I think it's a fabulous story.
Thanks a lot, Pradeep. Just to wind up, Pradeep, as Harish said earlier, and services business is all about relationship and service delivery, right? So one takes a long-term view of managing relationships and managing delivery in a manner that acceptable to customers, and there's a continuous growth possible.
So एक और बात बताओ कि हरीश ने तो मतलब अभी उसके अपने घर में इतने मतलब वो उसने ट्रंक भर के रखे हुए हैं कैश के, वो आशीष को भी नहीं देता पैसे, वो अपने घर में कैश में रखता है. What about you? You never thought of kind of selling off and kind of
Not really. I thought, we could perhaps make it bigger and let it grow bigger and bigger. So as of now, we're still in that mode to growing it further. And the only difference is now instead of only organic growth, we also look at inorganic growth now. And we feel there's still a lot of opportunity in the industry. And the unique position in Singapore gives us a unique advantage.
Fabulous.
And the big question was, always has been, look, what's next? But करूँगा क्या? IIT तो मुझे वापस लेगा नहीं, अराउंड उसमें रह नहीं सकता, उसकी हालत ही खराब हो गई है, तो करूँगा क्या फिर मैं?
So now another thing is that you see, and this is a question which I suppose I have to ask all three of you. That basically, all of you, running your own businesses, how do you get the right work-life balance?
What's that?
Yeah, if I can tell you that, Pradeep, there's nothing like that. I think these all are personal choices, and they also differs from time to time. So I remember the days I started a business, I used to sleep in the office because I'm working till 2 o'clock, and MRT has closed down, and I don't have money to pay for the taxi fare, to be very honest.
Pradeep, now, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
So
Actually, क्या है ना, मतलब बात क्या है ना कि I tend to think from an Australian mindset, कि यहाँ 5 बजे के बाद में लोग बंद कर देते हैं टाइम. आजकल तो नहीं है वो.
मैंने हरीश ने कई बार सोचा over a beer or a wine that should be both of us migrate to Australia. क्योंकि सिंगापुर में तो ये मतलब होने वाला है नहीं. So that's why Harish decided बहुत हो गया, बस let me exit the business.
Now that's why people have started talking about work-life integration. They're no longer calling for balance because balance is no longer possible.
Look, it was absolutely fabulous to catch up with all three of you and then Balwant. So, and we are looking forward to involving you more and more into the GCC. And Priya and everybody else will be in touch with you because this is a journey that we are on. And it is so nice, suddenly to find Sunil and Harish. Langotia yaar the, matlab, this is, and to meeting in a platform like GCC. Oh, great, great story. So please give a round of applause to Balwant. Really enjoyed, and back to you, Priya, for summing it up, the whole thing, and before I move on to Narinder. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Priyadarshi, for organizing this. It is great.
Thanks, Pradeep. And I'm looking forward to, I think today we had a good mix of speakers. I think Ashish, Vineeth, Balwant, Nimesh, all of you kind of gave us very good insights into the very different kind of background like you have, right? In terms of the one is into wealth management, the other one is into IT services. And I think the kind of a background you have come from, how you went, it's very different. There's no one size fits all or one way to success, right? But all of you have succeeded in your role in by following different paths. But it's really insightful to kind of hear your thoughts and your vision, how you envision, and someone, I think Balwant said, probably being at the right place at the right time, taking that trip to Singapore was the right thing. So there are different aspects which has shaped the journey you have taken. And that's, I think, is a key learning. And I think this forum is all about bringing that experience. And this video is going to be shared with all our alumni, all our alumni. So I think that's where the power of this thing comes in, right? And we are hoping to bring in more people like yourself into this forum so that we can all enrich ourselves with the experience that you guys are sharing. So with that, I'll just thank all of you for making time. And Ashish, I know you wanted to promise 10 minutes, but you gave us way a lot more than that. So thank you for that.
Really, it's great. It's great to be. I was wondering, we should get some more people from different fields. I don't know if you're in touch with Chetan Bhagat. We should get him on. He's somewhere in Singapore, right?
So absolutely fabulous. And please give a round of applause to Priyadarshi for setting this up. And let me tell you, the way forward is that for each of these groups that we are kind of building up, whether it be a geography, whether it be a batch, whether it be something else, you will see waves and waves of these coming through. So this is not the end of Singapore sessions. And this is just one of the women. This is just the beginning. So take
Sorry,
care.
Navalji wants to say something. Yeah.
Who wants to say?
Navalji.
Hey,
wants to say
Naval.
Pradeep,
What should I say? The man behind Priyadarshi. We normally say there's always a female behind, a person, but here you've got a man. Naval.
you see pushed in the corner, I've managed to track Harish, whom I have known, or I'm seeing him after 45 years. I've known him since 1968. Okay. I'm seeing Balwant after ages. But we've run into some constraints, Pradeep.
Tell me.
IIT has a big presence here, IIT in Singapore, but we are struggling to get the database. So this were just kind hits. Harish was a kind hit, which I hit upon in 97, no touch. And now I heard about him very recently. And I said, I won't leave him. I have known Harish for ages. We were neighbors. So we need some assistance from people like Harish and Balwant to get us connected to a larger ASEAN community so that we can expand.
Absolutely bang on. As I keep telling everybody that when I came on to, running GCC, I asked the alumni as well, and they could even only come up with, potentially a list of 1,000 people. Whereas the total alumni population outside India must be more than about 15,000, 20,000. So let us make it on ourselves that each one of us will not only reach out to as many people as we can, but also at a very minimum get 5 people, into the loop. Let's expand exponentially. Harish, please give a round of applause to Harish, for to Naval, for this absolutely
interesting. When I got the call from Naval, I said, how not to do it, yeah. Otherwise, I'm a retiree, I'm a senior citizen in Singapore. I'm a retiree. I get discount on the MRT at the bus. And, if I go shopping at the supermarket on a Tuesday morning between 11 and 12, I get a 2% discount. Boss, so mera life is...
Harish, there's a phrase in Hindi, Sam Dam Dand Bhed. So with Harish, I had to use Bhed to get him in.
So now let's go across to the next item on the agenda, which is, introducing a person from the EC. And today we've got Narinder Panal. Narinder I've known, like all of you, for how many? When did I pass off? 42 plus 2 is 44. At least more than 44 years.
It's exactly 49.
40,
it's 49 years.
That is right. You've got to add another 5 more. Absolutely right. And because we were at the time when IIT used to be 5 years degree, and we were the same hospital as Ravli. He is 1975 batch. There's a lot that I can talk about him. But please give a round of applause to Narinder. And Narinder, over to you. We want to hear about your journey post IIT.
Thank you, Pradeep. It's really nice to meet up so many people around and go through once again for what we really cherished. When I look back, it's 51 years. 51 years back, I joined IIT, and it's almost 46 years since we passed out. And I think, I'm forgetting the name of the gentleman who said, we are retirees now.
Harish.
I can't forget my stay in IIT. I think it was, the first year you normally take to settle down in the IITs. The second year was a very eventful year for us. This was the first time, there was a strike organized of the mess workers, and guess by whom? Dr. Subramaniam Swamy.
Oh yes, I remember it.
And we were sitting in front of Mr. Dogra's office for the whole night, playing music and doing all kinds of things here. I can also never forget about orientation program. I don't know if it was there in your time or not, but I still remember my orientation. And there was one, Mr. Gulati, a civil engineer and a professor, who told us that, listen, we want to make you men. He said two things. He said, when you go out with your girlfriend, you shouldn't be talking to her about the engine or the valves here. You should be able to talk to her what she wants to listen. I think these experiences are really super. It really made us, look forward to something in life. Yeah. Well, also the second year was a very, very touchy for me. There was a 71 war, and one of our classmates, Mukesh Khetrapal, his brother, he died in that 71 war. His name was Arun Khetrapal, who was given the highest award, is PVC, Paramveer Chakra.
Wow, wow.
And that was also a time, because the war situation, one of the aircraft, a passenger aircraft, was shot down by Pakistanis, and we had taken a procession all the way to the Pakistan embassy to give them the memorandum, condemning it. And guess who was leading us? None other than Rajat Gupta. No, Rajat Gupta.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see.
He was a hostel mate, yeah.
My goodness.
So tell us, what did you do post IIT?
See, post IIT, I joined the Indian Oil Corporation, one of the largest organization at that particular moment. But I entered into the oil business. When we reached there, one of the first things that was told to me by my immediate boss was that you have come to a wrong place. I was wondering, why did he say that? He said, you are an engineer. What are you going to do with the oil company? This was the biggest corporation, and we were taken as a management training. So anyway, we learned what the oil industry was all about. Fortunately for me, there was a project coming up in Bombay. Though I started in Chennai, at that time it was known as Madras. I came to Bombay, and I was in the project department. There was a new installation coming up. So I was made in charge of that, setting up that installation. Yeah, but unfortunately, the treatment which you get from a public sector undertaking was not good. So we were all looking around for opportunities outside the public sector. I joined another oil company in the private sector, but there also the story was more or less the same. Then moved on to, I really wanted to do something in engineering, and that was my passion. Moved on to Bharat Gears. There I really learned a lot of things. Yeah. And I also realized that if you don't have a management degree with you, your growth probably will not be fast. And unfortunately, the situation was such that I couldn't go for a full-time management course. So I took up a part-time course with the Bombay University, finished it. But again, probably it didn't have the value which is attached to the a regular degree from a well-known college like IIM's or even Bombay University. Yeah. Unfortunately, in India, what I observed was that people don't look at your capabilities when they're hiring you. They look at your degrees. From where are you? It's like selecting a dog. What is the pedigree? If it's a bulldog or not. If it's a bulldog, yes, you could be paid higher. But if you're not a bulldog, you don't get paid higher. It's very unfortunate, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that you find many people going, from one stream to another stream. Yeah. I mean, if you are in the marketing side and you want to go to the production side, people will not look at you. They say, you have been in marketing, be in marketing. Yeah. That's probably one of the, I think, a very negative point in our industry, and that's probably one of the reasons that we don't have so many innovations coming up. It's not the people are not intelligent. It's the same people when they go out in the US, in Europe, or in Japan, or in Australia, they do very well.
So tell me, but you see, you turned the negativity on its head.
Yeah, I mean,
how did you do that?
I mean, whenever I found that I'm not happy with the situation, I used to change my job. You probably will be surprised I've changed more than 10 jobs during my tenure here. But at the end, I found that it was very, very useful for me. Because when I really become a senior manager, I was responsible for 2 joint ventures in India. Yeah. My first joint venture was with a Canadian company situated in Vancouver. They were making, they were at least not a manufacturing thing, it was remanufacturing of hydraulic cylinders here. What happens is, you must have seen that, most of the cranes, most of the material handling trucks and all, they have these, what you call hydraulic cylinder for actuations. And they tend to get damaged because a small little dent will make it make it useless here. But everything else is okay. So this people in Canada had devised a way to refurbish it once again at probably 1/3 the cost. But unfortunately, after having studied the process, after having found out the place, everything, constructing of the factory and everything, before we could get the machinery, things went bad, and I have to move out once again. Yeah.
So which was the second joint venture you started?
The second joint venture with a German company known as Irish. They were making industrial mixers here. So we started the manufacturing of the industrial mixers in India. I mean, you all have seen the domestic mixers, right?
Yep.
Which everybody has it at home, yeah.
Yep.
It's a similar kind of a mixer, but it's for mixing solids here. And can you beat, even till today, there is no definition of what is known as uniformity in solid mixing here. It's only a perception and defined looking at the end result. I mean, how the mixer is at the end of the. But still, technically speaking, there is no definition even today.
But leave aside the mixing side. But okay, you had a joint venture with Canada, you had another joint venture with Germany. Then where did the Skills Institute that you set up, how did that come about?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get your question.
The skills, you set up a training institute also, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, at the moment, I'm running a training institute. Yeah, after having all the skill development academy which we're running now, we are basically catering to at a lower level. Yeah, it's not something which is a rocket science. It's primarily, see, what happens is, unfortunately, again in India, what education you get at the school, even at the engineering colleges, yeah, sometimes these people, they just have the bookish knowledge. They are not exposed to any practicals. So what happens is, when they go to the field, suddenly they find they're not employable. Also, so what we are really trying to do here is that we give them the practical training, be it like in the fire and safety. We basically keep everything, every instrument, everything in our institute, make them use it. It's primarily, emphasis is more on giving them the practical training rather than only talking about the theory.
Man, you need to take up virtual reality and augmented reality.
Exactly.
That is the way
I think
forward.
I spoke to you some time back, if you remember.
But tell me, apart from this training institute, we'll talk about the VR AR stuff offline. But tell me, apart from that, you're also doing something with European countries, something else also you're doing. What exactly is that?
But not much. I'm just a marketing consultant for still a German company as well as an Italian company. See, I'm into the ceramic industry. For the German company, it is primarily for making refractory bricks for the steel industry. Of course, there's nothing, it's again not a very high-tech this thing, but yes, hydraulic is also one field which is extremely difficult to understand. Yeah, I mean, there are people who have worked in it for years together, but sometimes it's damn difficult. It's, you know, it's like a circuit. Sometime in a circuit, you don't know from where the signal is coming. Yeah.
So on another note, you've been with the executive committee of IIT Delhi Alumni Association.
Yeah.
Is this the first time, or have you also been
No,
there?
this is the second time. This is the second time. My
So
first stint
what do
was
you
about
guys
6
do?
years ago.
So what do you guys do in the EC? What exactly is this is the community that?
To be honest with you, you know, my first stint, it was about 7-8 years back. Yeah, this was primarily only concentrated with activities in Delhi. Nobody was outside Delhi, was not known to them. Yeah, I was the first person who tried to create a chapter-oriented, policy so that the chapters can grow. I mean, we can connect, we can do networking, yeah. Because unless and until you do the networking with the people, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it was like a club. There was nothing more than that. There were a couple of guys. The president has all the money, and he has the whatever he wants to do it, he used to do it. But only for the people who are living in Delhi, all around it. Yeah. Today, yes. Today, you are also a member of the EC, so we can connect you. This is what you're doing is a wonderful work. And we are now able to connect with people across the globe. And let's see whether we can really synergize it. Yeah, we have talent, we have people. We really don't, as I think you also mentioned it just a few minutes back. And unless until this network, we use it for our own benefits. Yeah, it will not only going to benefit us, it's going to benefit our institute also. Because if I'm able to generate more money, I'm able to donate more money. There's no two ways about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very
And
important.
it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, Narinder. And I enjoyed, listening to your tales of how you went about turning adversity on its head and finding new spots to grow. And that is what it is about. And coming back to the GCC, it is, end of the day, it is all about creating that platform and creating the value proposition that all of us find time to look at it and grow it.
Yeah.
Now, the two things that I want to kind of say, we've already kickstarted this, but there is some wonderful work which is being done by, two people, Neeraj and Anirban, both in terms of developing a newsletter as well as social media. Now, what we need to do is that each month, let's pick up one social media where we will focus all our energies. And for this month, I am nominating LinkedIn. There is a LinkedIn group that we have created as Global Alumni, and that includes global in the true global sense that everybody, a single platform. Let's get as many people and let other people also, be part of this network and take advantage. I will send you the link once again. If you are not part of that, please join that. And Neeraj will take this forward, and please get at least 5 more people into GCC as well as into the LinkedIn.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really a good. I mean, you created this platform which was really required. Yeah, I think unless and until we really synergize among ourselves, opportunities are not less. I always believe that solutions cannot are always there. It's a question of posing the right kind of a question. Many a time people, you pose a question which is probably not relevant to what he really wants it. If the question is right, you'll definitely get an answer to it. Yeah.
Fabulous. Let's give a round of applause for Narinder.
Thank you very much, Pradeep, for this opportunity. And let's continue this. Let you continue this good work, and I'm sure we can really reach places from here. Yeah.
Let's drag you also into this more actively, Narinder. So with this, we are now are at our scheduled time of 1 hour and 18 minutes, which means 3 minutes over our time. So, once again, enjoy your morning cup of tea, afternoon lunch, evening glass of wine, or maybe a glass of lassi, whatever suits you. Take care and all the very best. And talk to you at episode number 8 next Saturday.